know when you're able. You can see my screen, right? Like as I move to the next bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so this is about the product evaluation engagement. The webinar is about us enabling product evaluation for orgs or using the chatbot. And yeah, so that's our idea. Like we'll share the context, and I just want to do like an introduction to what we mean by product evaluation, because there are other for-profit tech products, and then there is chatbot, and then there's chatbot for like the social impact cause that different orgs use it for. So how could we think of like what we have learned from our friends and ecosystem players, like what does that product evaluation look like? And then we'll be going deep into that particular framework. It may or may not be, we think it's applicable to majority of the use cases, but that will leave up to your discretion to make that decision for yourself. But essentially, we'll dive deep into that framework, which kind of like asks NGOs to define their levels of engagement, and then query information based on that, and then assess that funnel. So if we are not able to go through this entire thing, what we can do is, because we did this during the Glific sprint, and we found that most orgs were able to find good value in this. So we thought we should do it online as well for the orgs who could not join. But we did this over a course of 2.5 hour hands-on workshop. So if it's not possible for us to do some of this thing online, we can work offline, as in like we'll share you the framework today, and we have some worksheets and things like that you can fill and get back. And as you fill and as you progress through this thing, you can take our support async as well. So like you can be in touch over email or on Discord, and we can try to it'll be our aim to help you figure this all out as you go through this. So just a quick context, like vision for Glyphic is that we want to make Glyphic more tuned towards creating and measuring and showcasing impacts for nonprofits. That being like the majority of the user base for Glyphic. And from working with like all the NGOs, our intuition is that impact for NGOs happen when they are able to get more and more new beneficiaries onboarded to their chatbots, like into their chatbot programs, or into their programs which are assisted by chatbots. And also, once the beneficiaries are onboarded, your end users are able to engage deeply. Or in some cases, like not all NGOs have program specific flows, but some definitely have like a duration in which they need to interact with the chatbot. So so that's the proxy of impact for like impact is obviously behavior change or educational outcomes and things like that. But considering just the tech product of chatbot at the center, when NGO is able to like demonstrate that someone started and they finished all the steps of some program, that's one. Or if they're able to engage more than a certain number of times in a week or a month, or in a duration of a given time. So that's largely the intuition that we have, and we are trying to like build on that intuition to then have the framework for this impact. So um, our objective is to see whether the chatbot, like through this product evaluation, whether the chatbot that you have released or like the program that you have running through the chatbot, is it being used as intended by the beneficiaries? So how the users have engaged with your product, and then and the idea behind this is we'll try to form like a funnel of sorts, like starting from onboarding to, let's say, like program completion. And if program completion is not your objective, like it's just objective for you is to like keep them engaged over a given time, then we'll help you to define those, like so from starting off the from onboarding to that, what is that defined state. So part one of it is like you taking some time to think through those things and defining each levels. Once you have the defined levels, we can help you to query that information, and then looking at where the drop-offs are happening, so that we can help you to generate more idea towards nudging the folks to complete the program or like do deeper engagement. I'll pause here if there's any questions. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the chat box. If not, you can just like say no questions and I can move on. In the chat box, you can let me know if you have no questions. I'll wait for 10 seconds. Okay. So, this is our okay. So, this is essentially the framework that we have borrowed from. So this framework for impact evaluation, this entire research or like study on has been done by the agency fund in collaboration with a few NGOs and also taking their learnings from previous orgs that they have engaged with. Um, I can share you all the link into in the chat box, but also you can also like go through this at any later given point of time. Essentially what this framework suggests, and as you can see like this, they call it the framework for AI, like a measurement of impact by AI, like a AI product, but we think it can be also extrapolated to any tech product. So essentially like they suggest like four levels of evaluation. First level of evaluation is the model evaluation, whether any chosen model, is it behaving as and responding in the way that you intend for it to respond. So making sure that it is not answering in a harmful way, it is sticking to the prompts, it is and it is not answering about any other unrelated topics. So things like that. It's answering in an empathetic and a more useful way. So this is the first part of it, the model evaluation. This is not the focus of today's this thing. But once we have a decent idea that the model or the tech platform works well, then once you have the product, like the tech, the user journey and how the interactions are going to look like that defined, the second bit of it is product evaluation, whether which which tries to answer the question whether the product is getting used as intended. So for example, so in case of there's an organization called, let's say if the objective of the product is to help mothers navigate pregnancy well, so just the like through the logs, the questions that are being asked, through the number of times the mothers are engaging with it, we should be able to ideally tell that whether the product is being used as intended. Whether do mothers have those questions? Is the questions getting answered well? Are the mothers then using those answers in a practical way to solve their problems? So largely that would be the idea of product evaluation. Similar could be the case with any other education org as well. If the idea is for students to if the idea for students to get mentorship through the chatbot, so again, like putting the same lens, are the students, how many students are started, like onboarded onto the thing? How many have then gone on to engage with it more than just onboarding it? What kind of, how have they engaged? And then, so essentially, like that is the larger idea behind product evaluation. The next, and this is what we'll focus on today, just to give you a high level overview, there's also in this framework, there's also somewhat called as like a user evaluation, which is once someone uses the product, what are the changes in their behavior, in their psychology, in their agency, in their, like what is the change in the user as a result of using the product or just as a result of engaging with the program. So that's what would be the user evaluation. And then lastly, there's impact evaluation. Essentially, this framework suggests that like it's essential to do some sort of RCTs at a slightly larger scale if you want to determine like like a certain impact, like what has been the change in behavior as compared to normal behavior if the intervention was not done. So we are going to focus on this bit. But this is part of the larger, like framework for impact evaluation, which the agency fund and like that they suggest, and we have borrowed it from them. So before I go ahead, also I'll pause if there's any questions. Feel free if you are confused about something, if something was not clear, if there's something you want to flag or highlight, just happy to hear your thoughts as well. Pause for 10 more seconds. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's go ahead. So this is what we'll focus on, the product evaluation part of it. And essentially, like I mentioned, the product evaluation part of it, the idea is for us to put the product under a microscope, like how you are defined the chatbot under the microscope, and get like the exact numbers for each, or like try to at least have a definition of what some of these, like how you could define someone who is like, someone who is targeted like, so example, like over here I've given the example of the let's say health based organization. We could take an example of any other organization. Let's take example of students who have to let's say solve a, or like create a solution to solve a problem, and that's the program. So essentially, if I go to a school and I have like 30 students that I'm engaging in a session, those 30 become my targeted folks. Now, as after the first session, my objective would be to onboard all of them onto my chatbot, and so that after I'm done with the session and I've given them something to do in their homes or in their communities, then they can report that or like take that action and report that on the chatbot. So out of the 30 that I engage, I should be able to tell how many I have actually onboarded onto the chatbot. That means I'm able to trace them back to the session, or like the school or the class, or for that matter the program. It doesn't have to be, it could be any of those. So out of 30, how many were then onboarded? Let's say for this, after, so I just know I not only want them to onboard, but I also want them to then complete complete building a solution, which involves like certain let's say like 4 steps for them to complete the solution. And the first step could be like they have identified a problem that they want to solve, and they've investigated some amount of information about the problem, like why that problem exists, who is causing that problem, what is the potential impact of that problem in the neighborhood. So I could define that, okay, someone who's onboarded, and then the second active level would be like those who have at least taken 2 steps of the program. So they have like written about the problem statement and shared it with me. They've identified some data points about the problem, and then they have shared that on the chatbot. So that could be like the after onboarded, they have taken at least shown initiative of doing these 2 steps as well, and I could call that as active. And then I could say that, okay, after active, like the after investigating, the next step is for them to like build a solution and try it out. So and those who have like done the activity of building a solution, trying it out, and sharing about that solution, reporting that solution, whatever they have done, I would call them as engaged. So like those who have taken the third step of the program. And finally, I could say that after the third step, they have not only shared it with, like created the solution and shared it with me, they have also shared it with some 2 other forums, and they have reported that on the chatbot. So that's what I would call as like, okay, they've completed the program and they've achieved a proximal outcome of having built some problem solving skills. So essentially, that's the idea of the funnel. Like this is just one example. We could break it down in many other different ways. I can share you some examples if you have questions about like your own specific programs. We can discuss more on that. But essentially, that is what we want to be able to do. So ideally, I want all 30 to be from targeted, who are targeted to have completed the program. but that may or may not be the case, and we want to identify out of the 30 how many are dropping off at what point, and then which point of this funnel do we need to actually target and come up with some ideas so that they can continue engaging further with the program. I will pause here before we go into the hands-on time. So essentially that's the hands-on time we're going to do. You're going to define your programs, and so I'll just take you to the sheet. So I've created the sheet. I think all the folks who are here, in case your org name is missing, you let me know. I'll create a tab for you. But so this is a template, like what we want to do in the next 15 minutes after questions is you'll try to define what each of these things mean for you, your org. So like define your org name, write about the program. You can like try to write as roughly as possible. That's fine. But let's say the program where your chatbot is playing the role. Like it may not be just one program. It could be, I mean, you may have multiple programs, but maybe then for for the sake of this activity, you can focus on just one program, right? About the target audience and what are the desired outcomes for the audience through the program. So that is the desired outcomes. That means like, so let's say for the educational org, it is like development of entrepreneurial mindset, development of 21st century skills. Like that's the larger outcome. And what we say is, how are the interactions on chatbot helping to move your audience towards the outcomes? So in the example that I shared, it's like as they complete each step of the problem solving process or like the program that is defined, that each step is building some amount of communication, some amount of creativity, some amount of this thing. And as they complete the entire step, it's a proxy for saying that if they have done these 4 5 things in the span of like last 2 months, that means they have demonstrated some amount of each of these skills. So that's the idea. So ideally, you should be able to write over here how are the interactions on the chatbot helping to move the audience towards the outcomes. So what does interactions look like? Um, and uh, and then here, this one you can skip and we can kind of like come back to later. Like essentially, this is the pre-work we had for our thing. And then from here, you can skip this one as well. This is the same as like you can row 9 is same as row 5. But now, like, so this is like the big picture of your, like the big picture of your program and chatbot. And now we are going into like, so this part of it, the second section is like going into the microscope of your chatbot program. So you can kind of define like, so for the program you have considered, you can kind of like start to define the levels of, okay, who are the recruited folks, how will you consider them as onboarded, how will you consider that as activated, like so anything that they have done after onboarding, what are those activities that for you make sense that okay, this is the this is what would define as like, okay, they have shown some intent of engaging with us. um then what defines them having, like just more than some intent, but like that they have understood and now they are trying the things that you are telling them to do, or they're showing positive behavior of like using the way it's intended. So what does that level of engagement look like with your chatbot? And then what is the largest, like what does closure, or like like what is the proximal outcome, um which kind of demonstrate the near term cognitive or behavioral change. So this is what is the activity, like the hands-on bit that we are going to do for the next, I mean, let's say if you have 15 minutes. And ideally, what will happen is once you have these levels defined, with the help of Glyphic team, ideally they should have, let's say, ideally they should have some references to the flows, some references to some things that you're using in the chatbot. So we can use this information and then help you pull out these numbers, like query the numbers, so that you have this actual count of how many users are there at this stage. So that's the larger idea. And then that's essentially like this should give you something like this. So like this is an example of KEF. So they were able to define each of, like program completion percentage instead of the levels. They said, okay, 10% completion, 20% completion. They defined some, like three of some criteria that they had. So based on that, we were able to pull together. And this is like a comparison of two of their programs. They were able to figure out, like for programs which has like um lesser on-ground engagement. So like the program on the right that you see, there's like a larger drop off between 30% to completion to 40% completion, and that is where they need to target, or like they need to start doing some sort of offline nudges, or like like offline intervention to tell the beneficiaries like, hey, like don't forget about this one or whatever, remind them again. So this is what we're hoping, like that. And yeah, so the next section deals with what you could do with it. But our first segment of the workshop and is to kind of like help get an idea of what the definitions are for y'all, and start doing start get help you to query that information so you can look at it holistically. Okay, I spoke a lot. I'll pause for a minute. If you have any questions, I can take them. Otherwise, I'm sharing the sheet here. Um, you have 15 minutes. Let me know if you have questions, and as you're filling this, as you go through this thing, if any questions come up, you can also feel free to let me know. So let me know if anyone's org is missing. I can probably create that another template sheet. Mm. Sontu, if I may, could I know your org name? I don't know if your org is there. So we have about we have about 10 minutes, like let's say like 15 minutes, so like it's 3:26 right now. Let's like let's check back in at like 3:35, 3:40. And meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can let me know. Also, if you can like maybe share with me with like unmuting, and like if the instructions are clear, so then I'll start. I'll put on some music and you all can work. Okay, this is great. I can see eVidyaloka folks have started to fill. Arnav, Bonita, uh, let me know if you need any help. On to We have about 10 minutes more. You can feel free to kind of like fill it as roughly as possible. That's also fine. Also, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Hey, sorry, did someone ask a question? Okay, we have about 7 minutes more. Um, okay, this is great. Evidya Loka. Okay, so we have Evidya Loka, Tap, and Lambya who are filling it. So as I'm seeing here, and I think like what would be most beneficial is to see like to create this together. So for example, Labhya, as you have filled this, and I hope you are okay that we can talk about your program a little. The chatbot is used for disseminating educational content. Teachers for SEL, that's great. State government school teachers, that's great. The desired outcomes is received bite-sized contents in form of image, video, text, implement the quiz and answer any queries. Um, so so this is I see if you are able to like go like one level deeper. Um, in terms of like so this we can say that like as a result of receiving content, what is the change you think like what's the difference between a teacher who receives this content versus a teacher who does not receive this content? So this is like the output of your chatbot, like it helps in teachers to receive the content. But as a result of the content, what is the larger outcome for the teacher and eventually for the student? So maybe if there's a way you can define that, that is what we are hoping for in the desired outcomes.
All right.
Okay, great. Also, anytime, so let's say let's look at eVidya Loka. What are the desired outcomes for the audience? All volunteers can get answers for their doubts, less dependencies. Maybe Evidya Loka team, you might want to like maybe like think about like what are the queries about. So faster resolution of their doubts regarding what and what is the second order effect of their faster resolution of the doubts. So for example, volunteers could be yeah, so in your case is volunteer teachers, right? Again it could be like better, like they're able to support the students that they're engaging in a like in a better way, so they don't have to like so maybe if there's some like second order outcomes that you can think about because yeah, so that is something that you can define over here.
Sure, sure, Tejas.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. I think we have about like last 1 minute left. This is great. Um, but yeah, like I think so. So I think we can take some more time after this, but since like we have slightly limited time for the webinar, I think uh, we can come back to this. And what will be great is if you can spend like half an hour on this post the webinar or like within this week and share it back to us. We can then kind of like refine this a little so that we are able to like look at the next bit of it. So just quickly, essentially so the part one of this thing helps to define, as you can see in this one, if you have defined what are the larger outcomes for this thing. So like, let's say we take an example of Sneha, where there are young mothers who need assistance during their vaccination and after childbirth. So increased awareness of benefits of institutional delivery, increased awareness about the benefits of vaccination, adherence to vaccination schedules for infants, reduce child mortality rates. So like these are the larger, like as a result of engaging with the chatbot, and the engagement in chatbot looks like how many questions they have asked, how many times they've come back. So, but the second order effect of having engaged with the chatbot, what happens to that? So that's what we're supposed to define. And then I think as you answer some questions, then we can like comment on this and like refine it better. So we're able to pull this information for you. So that's what you can focus on. But ideally, based on this information, what we can come up with is something like this, like a funnel view of your larger program. And the idea behind, like, once you look at this, we there is some, like, so like essentially, like, you have this, like, you have looked at your program deeply, and obviously you should do this with some of your team members, and um, see if you are able to identify. So the final assessment of it is figuring out which is the most critical step in the funnel, which is the more critical step, where like, or where you want to target the conversions, where you're seeing either like a larger level of drop off, or you're seeing there's a good potential for improving, or if you're seeing that that steps drives the biggest impact for you. So some of those things are where, like, you can look at your, once the steps are there, you can look at it in that angle. So like identifying the step of the funnel which you want to target, then taking it to the next step, which is like defining the action that is needed to complete that stage of the funnel or to reach that stage of the funnel. So just like thinking us a bit more deeply about the action itself, like, when do they take that action, what is the action that needs to be taken, in when, like, how are they informed about the action, what are the steps that they need, what are the exact things that they need to do to complete it, either on the chatbot, like, okay, step one, create a document, write about it, take a screenshot of something, share it. So like a bunch of things could be there. So like mapping the exact action that needs to be taken, and and then looking at the action as in, like, from a perspective of like, what is the motivation for them to complete it, uh, do they have the capability to take that action in that given time or at that given, like, do they have the capability to like respond to that, whatever the action is, and if they have the opportunity to do that action. So like a bunch of like looking at this from a angle of how easy or difficult it is for the folks to do the step that you want them to do. And lastly, then you can come up with new ideas that like target some of these things. So if you identify that, like, while they have the capability to do something, like, for example, teachers, in terms of teachers, they may have the capability to do the thing, like understand the bite size thing and do it, but they may not have motivation to do for SEL because they are bombarded with other science or maths or STEM based things that's their major focus. So maybe you could think of some ways to increase that motivation for the teachers. That kind of like, so over the period of time, they also are aware of, like, so there's some amount of motivation in terms of either through a sense of, um, maybe like, like, this helps them, their students, to be slightly better human beings than just, like, students. So let's say, like, there's like a sense of purpose in life, or there is yeah, like, so something along those lines. If you start incorporating some of these triggers, that's the idea behind looking at the funnel, figuring out which step, what is the steps that need to be converted, what is the behavioral driver behind that, and bringing in the like the nudges to augment some other things that may be missing from your beneficiaries. So that is largely the things that like, also you can look at this thing. We can If you have any questions, I can pause here. Maybe I can wait for like 10 more seconds. Also, you can, this is like a fairly good chart of like what drives action. So even, like just as like a starter, this thing, it's possible to also just like look at the things that you want to use a chatbot for engaging, and seeing how can you increase some of these aspects through your messaging. Like, can you create a sense of control? Like, so if you want them to take like 5 different actions, and so giving them an options to like do it at their own pace, or like do it or like select the order in which that they do it. Like that could be one way of like increasing engagement. Like, instead of making it like sequential, there could be ways to like make it like a la carte menu. Like they can choose what they want to do. um uh Also, like a larger thing of like like through the messaging only, like sense of belonging, sense of purpose, sense of like esteem. Like, so like calling out to like the higher like higher things, like higher motivations that they automatically demonstrate by engaging with your chatbots. Because all of your all like like all the tech products that we use are for doing something good in society for someone else. So it's possible to like like instead of making it like transactional, or like slightly spending some time to think about like, hey, are we appealing to a sense of hope? Like, like through every interaction you, or like every time you come here and ask for help, you are like improving the quality of education you're giving to other people, that is impacting in certain ways. So like if you're able to like bring in such messaging, that also helps. And then obviously like the ability factors, like thinking about the users. Like many times folks engage teachers, so what is their mental bandwidth, like figuring out what time is when they're most receptive, or like and then like structuring your program from that perspective. Obviously, like threat of punishment may not work for like a slightly older audience, but something like social support, like it's not just one-on-one, but let's say you have like a support WhatsApp group, or like, or through your messaging you keep informing them about like, apart from you there are 100 other teachers who are engaging, who are asking these type of questions, who are completing lesson plans, and like improve, like helping their students. So some along those lines could also be um like some things that increase the ability for someone to do it. And also there's another example of like money, but let's say, like one good example, which there's another organization called Mukkamar. What they do is like, so Mukkamar, they have to engage younger girls, students from government schools, to increase their sense of like self defense. Like, so learning some physical and verbal tools to defend themselves when it comes to like just feel more confident. So as those girls complete the course, like like the program, they through completing, they also get like vouchers to recharge their phones, recharge with data packs and things like that. So that's like through completing the points, like enables them to recharge their phones. So that is another very good example of like a motivational slash ability increasing nudge. um so yeah, those that is essentially what we have. And then and then you can figure out these ideas, you can map it under what makes it easy for them, what makes it attractive. Attractive could also be like something that appeals to their sense of purpose, to their sense of hope, to which increases their technical knowledge, anything like that. So like what makes them feel like that they're not just doing this alone by themselves, they are like part of a larger mission. um and then what makes it like time appropriate for them. So again, these are just some larger buckets to kind of generate ideas under. Once you know what is the level you want to target, suppose it's like just onboarding level. So what makes it the easiest onboarding? So one of the examples is Reap Benefit. For them, it was like I have to scan the QR code, click send, and then, or either save the number, then click send, like type the keyword and then send. Instead, they figured out like the most common thing everyone is aware of is the giving missed call. So they came up with like an onboarding technique where the call to action was simple. This is number, give it a missed call. So when they gave the missed call, the chatbot flow would automatically start for those folks. So this integration we were able to come up with as a result of Rebenefit identifying, like how to make it easiest to onboard. And for them, it was like once we onboard, then we can keep nudging them over through broadcast message, and we can keep moving them forward or keep getting them engaged. So this was again, this is an example, and this documentation, if anyone is interested in figuring how to do this missed call onboarding, it's available on our on the documentation, and we can share it post the call. But yeah, these are some examples. I had another 30 minutes to kind of like go over the target points, and I mean, this is what we did during the workshop, but essentially like um I want to, since this is like the larger workshops, like I just want to open up the space if there's any learnings, takeaways, any confusions, any concerns, any feedbacks. So I think there's open space for like about 2, 3, 5 minutes. If you have any thoughts, feel free to think about, articulate, and then we can like go to the next steps.
So yeah, hi Nikita here. It was something interesting which for us as an EVT Loka, we have few flows, maybe two, three. Tanu knows better
Mm-hmm.
where we have started. I think to start understanding, observing how many volunteers are coming, what is the process, this will help us. In fact, I think we need to observe more. Maybe we'll see the recording again and again to see how we can start implementing. I think the tips that you gave, including the missed call, I think that was something interesting and which will help more as we are planning. Right now, we have open only for the volunteers, but we
Mm-hmm.
are planning to open for the field team that is in the rural area for the alumni students and also the field, the maybe no, we call it as class assistant or field coordinators who doesn't know much of technology. So I think that is the main thing which we need to understand what is the easy way for them to use this chatbot. And I
Got it.
think this will help us a lot.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. Also, yeah, welcoming other folks. If you have any thoughts, any confusion or feedback also is welcome. We can work on it. Maybe give 10 seconds more. Okay. So, since all of us joined here and we'll share these steps and we'll share these steps for the folks who couldn't join us as well. But since you had gotten this exercise started, and I know Labhya, I got this request from you folks about also like wanting help on these things. So this is the steps to get started. Like, so what we started today, like if you can complete the definition of like the engagement levels, if you can do that, share it with us. We can like do a review of that. We'll have to like spend some time to refine it, see if you're able to like think through with your own team members, like do it as a collaborative exercise, like sit 30 minutes and think about it. Once you have this done, then we can like Glific team can help you to pull the data, like write the SQLs, like whatever is necessary to create this funnel view to kind of like help you look at your programs deeply and then ideate on the engagement strategies. So, but yeah, like some amount of like, like if for this to move forward, like what needs to happen is you should have other definitions, like engagement definitions, like you should share it with us. And we're happy to help you think this through. But if you're able to take the first shot and share it with us, then like that just sets up the right pace for us. So yeah, we'll share these details and you have the worksheet so you can like go over them. And yeah, so maybe in the next like by this week or by next week or like anytime over the next couple of weeks, if you share it with us over email or over Discord, we'll be happy to kind of like take the conversation forward from there. Uh, Okay, I think since you all stayed till here and you're giving me thumbs up, we have just one last thing. I will share the feedback and you all could just like stay for a minute, share the feedback, and then we can close the call. Folks, once if you have submitted the feedback, you can feel free to drop off. But yeah, take your time. We have some time. Okay, thank you, folks. Yeah, thank you.
They just
Yeah,
had a question. So you will be sharing the doc, right, with us that you shared over email, right?
yeah. We'll
Oh,
share you all the resources.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anand. Bye bye. Okay, thank you, Suntu. I think you will have shared your feedback, right? Hey, Tanu, how's it? Any feedback? Anything?
I
Oh,
think,
once again, I'll pause the
yeah,
recording.
we'll stop the recording.
Uh-oh.
It's okay, it's not going to save. Yes.
Uh, it's
Stop?
paused.
No, it's not. It is recording.